Hey everyone, Sparrow here. Welcome back to another episode of True North Sanctuary, where we have an exciting project ahead of us as we design a new habitat for the gorgeous cougar. It will be sharing the backstage building with the grizzly, so that part of the enclosure is already complete, but the pathing all around and the planting of the enclosure is what we're interested in for today. Had some issues setting up the path that runs alongside it, but we do get there eventually. Across from the enclosure, to fill in the gap between the high road and the salmon run, I'll be adding a rock garden that guests can stroll through, read some informational signage, look at some of the plant life growing in this biome, all of the fun educational things. Though in real life, I can totally see this area being something kids use to play tag as they walk through this part of the zoo, which is also great because play is important and most zoos have areas for children. So I'll be totally honest and say that most of this video is placing rocks, both in this rock garden and in the enclosure, and that's because the inspiration for the cougar habitat comes from one of my summer trips to the Rocky Mountains. I did a hike back in June through Grotto Canyon, which takes you through a pass carved out by a receding glacier. The rocks, soil, and other debris left behind by glaciers as they move usually form ridges or mounds called moraines, and they are plentiful in the mountains. So the habitat for the cougar will somewhat resemble a moraine, as will this little interpretive trail, which actually reminded me a lot of another hike that I love, the Edith Meadows Trail, which takes you up to the Angel Glacier and its moraine lake. So that is why this video is so short. Most of it was just placing rocks, and you don't want to watch that forever. So after that, I lined the sides of the path with plaster to hide the ugly curb and continued the same fences from the grizzly enclosure on the low path and the fences created for the dull sheep on the high road. This habitat is going to be very spacious for our single female cougar and feature plenty of levels so she can feel free to exhibit her climbing behaviors. It is somewhat of a sunken habitat still to make sure she doesn't climb out of the enclosure. Again, loads of rocks all around the edge, but still plenty of space in the center for her to roam. She is apparently a customs seizure, so I'm glad she wasn't trafficked and True North was able to give her a home. And here she is. You can see her walking around as I add some enrichment items to the enclosure. I've been finding it easier to add these first lately because of how some items change the terraforming even with the path trick. I added a ready-built climbing frame from the enrichment tab on one side of the habitat and really liked the style of it with the planetzooo trim on the edges. So I attempted to match that style on the other two climbing frames I built along this side of the habitat. Nothing too fancy, but it does clean up the edges and make it seem more man-made. These climbing structures are meant not only for enrichment, but also to bring the cougar higher up so guests can see her more easily. Cougars are seldom spotted in the wild, so I wouldn't be surprised if she likes to hide out in her enclosure too. I remember being told as a kid that if you see a cougar, it's probably too late for you because by the time you see it, it's been following you for miles. Not sure if that's true or just meant to scare me, but they are solitary, quiet creatures for the most part. Though they do also have many interesting vocalizations, so maybe not the most quiet. A cougar screaming, if you haven't heard it, kind of sounds like someone being murdered. They do also chirp at each other, and it sounds very similar to birds, so if you're ever walking through a forest, those might not be birds you're hearing, especially if it's late at night. To make extra sure our beautiful but still wild and scary cougar doesn't escape her enclosure, these hot wire fences will go all the way around the perimeter. I just adapted these from the fences created for the moose and beaver habitat. On top of the backstage building, there was this landing left behind when it was first built, so I decided it would be a nice little seating area for guests to enjoy some food that can be bought on the other side of the building. I think there are 4 shops in there. This fence is going to, first of all, make sure the cougar doesn't get out, but also screen the eating area off. Because I'm using the tilted blind pieces, it will be hard to see into this area from the salmon run path, but guests who are up here will still be able to peek into the cougar enclosure. Again, wishing for some more high elevation plants, a Highlands pack couldn't come soon enough. From what I remember of the Edith Meadows Trail, there are a lot of beautiful wildflowers if you visit it at just the right time of year as well. Lots of heather, speedwell, fleabane, Indian paintbrush, just gorgeous. We don't have any of these plants in the game, by the way, but they're really bright and highly specialized to survive in subalpine regions. unfortunately don't have anything that's similar to it in game, so I just planted it up with what we have. The trees I had to be careful weren't too close to the fence because cougars are very good climbers and could definitely make a leap from a tree branch to the other side of the fence if it was too close. Though a moraine wouldn't have trees growing, at least not particularly big ones, cougars do like sheltered forests, so this is a bit of a hybrid enclosure to make sure our cougar gets everything she needs. Lots of pine, fir, and spruce again, as well as the quaking aspen, which is probably a bit too thin for the cougar to climb. It couldn't bear its weight too well on the branches, so those trees can go closer to the edges. We do also have to fill in this empty space between the cougar enclosure and the prairie pathway because the mountain hike area has just one enclosure left before it comes full circle back to the main pathway. This area will feature more educational resources, not just about the animals at True North, but their importance and symbolism to the indigenous cultures of Alberta and Canada. So we'll have the framework for a teepee set up with a fire in the center, some education boards, and a massive bison rock statue that I found on the workshop. And as a wise person on the Discord server once said, when in doubt, add more plants. So these mulch patches will be going down among the rocks to provide spots for bushes and flowers to grow. Break up all of that gray rock everywhere. While these additions are finalized, I'm excited to say that the channel is almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is crazy to me because the first TNS video came out just over 3 months ago. It's been such a great journey so far, and I'm looking forward to continuing it and finishing up this zoo as well as all of the others I've planned. However, I do also want to do something special for 1,000, so if you haven't already, head over to the community tab on my channel or click the link in the description to go vote on what fun extra content you would like to see. We are starting our tour today halfway down the salmon run. So behind me is the grizzly bear enclosure, and ahead of us is the cougar, the brand new cougar, as well as the new rock garden trail. So we'll walk down that first. Try to keep the ground natural as well, so that's just the rock terrain paint. And then we do have lanterns for lighting, so just using the same method as the trek up to the Doll Sheep and Mountainside Aviary. There are also some cute little rock statues in here. There's the grizzly bear behind us, the timber wolf over there, and then we also have the reindeer, so just representing some of the animals you can find in the mountain hike area. Now up ahead, we have our first viewing of the cougar. We'll see if we can spot her in here. Oh, there she is! I thought I heard her chirping earlier. Maybe she'll chirp again. I've decided that we're going to name her Edith because we've talked a lot about Edith Cavell Meadows, and Edith Cavell was a super great person as well, so great namesake. She was a British nurse during the First World War, and she was a very honorable person. She treated soldiers from both sides of the war, and unfortunately was executed by firing squad because she was helping British soldiers. So yeah, our cougar is going to be named after her. So if we can spot Edith again, that'll be pretty cool, but if not, that's just regular cougar behavior. Oh yeah, there she is, just strolling. Such a gorgeous, gorgeous animal. I'm both sad and kind of happy I've never seen one out in the wild, because if it is true that the only time you spot them is when it's too late for you, then that would not be great. Over here, I didn't actually mention this during the speed build, but I had this empty area here, and these New World, I think they're the pronghorn statues, kind of arranged these horns in a circle to add a little bit more interest over here. And that will work well because the pronghorns are right over there past that sign. And this big empty space over here is also going to feature antlered animals, so that'll work out nicely. We of course have some more signage here pointing us in the different directions. So we're gonna head down the prairie pathway over to the food shops just to see all of these new additions, like that massive bison rock statue. Don't know how I feel about it. Don't know if it's too big, but it does look really cool. Oh, sorry, did not mean to do that. These education boards, again, haven't had time to create graphics, but that could be a fun thing that we do as a 1,000 subscriber video, so do go vote on that if you haven't already. And then as we keep walking down here, we do have some seating areas. We have our teepee without the canvas, just the lodge poles. And then we have our viewing area and seating area. So the shops are right over there. And then as we walk down here, we do also have a bathroom hidden in this building. I do have a plan for the interior of this building, but did not have time to complete everything just yet. And let's see if we can also spot the cougar through here. So the blinds, because of the way they're tilted, you can kind of peek through. No, looks like she's hiding. Oh, no, she's not. I'm just blind. Sorry, guys. Let's go downstairs and check out her backstage area. All right, so this long, narrow hallway right next to us right now is the grizzly enclosure. And then as we go through here, we have access to the delivery port on the side. And then this is where she can hang out in her backstage area, just down here. We also have a bulletin board, a little sign of the cougar, and then a bunch of backstage items over here. We are gonna go through this keeper door and check out her enclosure. So it's nicely screened off by these boulders here. I had to play around with that to make sure that both the cougar and the keepers could actually enter the habitat. Yeah, but it is quite a low habitat, again, so that she can't climb out. She does have a climbing structure over here, another one over there, and then the big one somewhere up there. So let's find our way, see if we can get up close and personal with Edith, the cougar. It does feel a lot smaller once you're down here, surprisingly. Feels like a very big habitat from above, but down here it doesn't feel too large. Oh, there she is. If not friend, then why friend shaped? It's so funny to watch the big cats and dogs in this game because and in real life, they act exactly like house cats and dogs you would keep in a home. We are almost done the mountain hike. Next week, join me again to see the conclusion of this awesome area. In the meantime, don't forget to vote for the bonus 1,000 subscriber content. Like, comment, subscribe, all of the fun things, and I will see you next time. Bye!